Welcome to Doctors Inn. I'm gonna be your hostess for today, Lulia Hubbi. Please welcome with us today Dr. Rohit Kumar from International Modern Hospital. He has a lot of experience in the field of laparoscopic and bariatric surgery, and he has done a lot of training in India, Japan, Greece, and France. Doctor, please tell us what is laparoscopic and bariatric surgery?
Well, laparoscopy is a keyhole surgery. Earlier days we used to cut open the abdomen, whereas nowadays the latest thing is to make small cuts in the tummy, which are of 5 to 10 millimeter, going inside and doing the surgery. What is done is you make 3 or 4 cuts in the tummy depending on the requirement. One is the camera, where the camera goes inside and you see a 15 times magnified picture on the computer. So it's like watching on the computer and operating inside. There are special instruments which are there, and you go inside and finish the surgery. This is what is laparoscopic surgery is. Coming on to the bariatric surgery also known as weight loss surgery. It is also done with laparoscope. Patients whose BMI is above 33 and 35 are the patients who have to be operated.
Okay.
And suppose, for example, someone is 150 or 200 kg, a special surgery, there are 3 or 4 types of procedures available. So among which we choose according to the patient what kind of procedure he will like to go for, and the surgery is performed. And the patient who has been on 150, 160 kg, he will lose every month 3 to 7 kg, and over a period of 1 to 1.5 years, he'll come down to almost a normal weight which he is expected to be. So everyone loses almost 70 to 80% of the excess body weight.
Wow,
Okay.
amazing. Doctor, could you please enlighten us about the types of the bariatric surgery?
Well, there are 3 to 4 types of surgeries which are there. So one is like first, which is the most common and easily and widely experienced, is being performed is a laparoscopic sleeve gastrectomy. What is done is whenever we eat the food, it goes through the food pipe into the stomach, and the capacity of the stomach is almost 2 liters. Through the laparoscope, I go inside and cut the stomach and make a tube. So the capacity from 2 liters is decreased to 50 to 70 cc.
Interesting.
So now if you eat 1 burger, 2 burgers and feel full, after surgery you eat little few bites and you get the same feeling that you are full. And all this fat which is accumulated on the shoulder, thighs, back, it is all center of fuel, and is all being consumed by the body, and hence you start losing weight. This is the laparoscopic sleeve gastrectomy. Second is the bypass. Bypass, you make a small pouch of the stomach, cut the intestine and take the intestine and join to the pouch.
Okay.
So, and the third is doing a bending, putting a ring at the stomach, and there is a button which is attached fixed just below the skin over here. As you put saline in the button, the rings becomes tight. So whatever food you eat comes and gets accumulated in the stomach and slowly goes down.
Maybe this one the most common one?
It was very common 7 years back. But since the results are not very good, it is getting disappeared over a period of time. People used to prefer doing a bending, but one reason was because it is reversible. You can always remove the bend. But since the results are not very good and you have to be always in touch with the doctor for the adjustment of the bend, so it's not very becoming quite common. It's almost getting disappeared. So best is to go for the sleeve gastrectomy or the bypass. And in both the surgeries, type 2 diabetes, those who are diabetic patients, 80% remission of diabetes takes place. So can you imagine a patient lifelong taking insulin? And after the surgery, he doesn't have to take insulin in both the surgeries. Not only his weight goes down, also his diabetes get cured. People, those who snore, those who have sleep apnea, all these get cured.
All related to this.
All related get cured. Those who are hypertensive and thyroid problem, those who have, their doses goes down. Whereas diabetes is one of the thing, because diabetes not only is only the sugar related, it affects your eyes, it affects your kidneys,
Exactly.
different part of the bodies. Then you get a diabetic foot also, because you don't get good blood circulation. It affects your heart, and we are curing it. 80% remission is really a good thing.
Doctor, who are the candidates for the bariatric surgery?
Not all candidates require surgery. I myself refuse almost 4 or 5 patients a day for whom the surgery is not required. First thing is to do exercise and a diet. But we calculate a standard criteria worldwide is to calculate the BMI, body mass index. So the BMI is calculated when you divide the weight with height in meter squares. Normal BMI should be from 19 to 24. Now the criteria comes, who are the candidates? Anyone whose BMI is more than 33 with a comorbid disease. For example, someone's BMI is 33 is having diabetes. He is the candidate. Someone whose BMI is 33 having hypertension, sleep apnea is the candidate. Or someone whose BMI is more than 35 without any comorbid disease. So someone is having a BMI of 35 and doesn't have hypertension or diabetes also is the candidate. So these are the criteria. And the third criteria is anyone whose BMI is more than 30 but has religiously tried over a period of 1 year or 6 months on diet and exercise and has not been successful, then you can consider that patient or the person a candidate for the bariatric surgery.
Is the patient required any supplements after the surgery, and is there any side effects?
Well, patient do require here supplements, but not lifelong. Especially in the sleeve gastrectomy, it is maybe for 6 months. In the bypass, yes, they may require for longer duration. And coming on to the supplement, all depends from person to person, how he is following up with the doctor, how his diet is. And here where the main team comes into it. It's not just a one person, that's the surgeon. I in my team have a dietitian, a psychiatrist, a gastroenterologist, anesthetist, cardiologist, endocrinologist. So all together we work together and form a department. And coming on back to the question is like the dietitian plays a role after the surgery. What kind of food you like? So accordingly, my dietitian sits with the patient and discuss, and accordingly give him or her the diet chart how he has to. Those who are non-vegetarian after sleeve gastrectomy, 80% don't require supplements. 20% may require some additional support for some time. Rest, those who are vegetarian, they may require supplements for 6 months or more. And another thing why the dietitian is there, because once you are losing weight, I don't want my patient's muscle to become weak. I just want their fat to burn out. So there where the dietitian plays a role, again, guiding the patient to take more proteins. So when you are losing weight and again you are eating the carbs, you're burning the fat and you're again eating the fat. So if you eat protein which gives direct energy to the muscles, so your muscles become strong and your fat burns up. That's how slowly they start losing weight, and though they are losing weight, they don't feel weak. That's why the regular follow-up with the doctor is very important.
And is there any side effects after the surgery?
No, there are no side effects after the surgery. In fact, it's like if someone is 150 kg, 24 hours, he's carrying 50 or 60 kg on his shoulder. They start feeling younger, lighter. They have to change all their wardrobes, buy new clothes because they don't fit into their clothes.
Doctor, you just mentioned that in your team you have a psychiatrist. What role does he play?
Really a good question. Psychiatrist really plays a very good role. Reason, we see all these obese patients, usually you'll find them cheering, happy, nice, but actually they are not. 80% of them are suffering from depression. They have started living the life, they have started adjusting into the life, how they are. But when I come across these patients, many times, I've seen there are many examples which I can quote, like kids are not ready to take their parents to school for the parents-teacher meeting because the parents are obese. They straight away refuse. Mom, please don't come to my school. My students, the colleagues, my friends, they make fun of me that your mom is obese or your father is obese. Many times the husband refuses to take his wife to a party. But he's not comfortable in the gathering, taking a fat woman along with him, and the wife goes into depression. So all these things have to be taken care of. Many people are in depression already, and when they are in depression, they eat more.
Yeah, you're right, absolutely.
That's a stress again plays a role. So to make sure that they have, and some of the patients, they have the suicidal tendency. And when do you lose weight, sometimes it comes into picture. So choosing a patient and evaluating it, it's very important. So here the psychiatrist plays a role to make sure that after surgery the results are going to be fine. There's no as such problem which I'm going to face after surgery. That's all.
Exactly. Doctor, what's the duration of the surgery and how long does the patient have to stay in the hospital?
The surgery takes around 1 to 1.5 hours. Going into the operation theater and coming out of the operation theater takes 4 to 5 hours. Because the preparation before surgery and after the surgery takes more time compared to the main surgery. The average hospital stay is around 2 to 4 days. And the patient usually is on liquid diet for, depends from surgeon to surgeon. I put my patients for liquid diet for 3 weeks. Then they are put on puree diet, the baby food, for 1 week. After that, a soft diet for 1 week. And after 5 weeks of total after surgery, they are back to the normal diet.
Yeah. Please tell us, how is laparoscopic surgery different to open surgery?
Well, laparoscopic surgery, also known as keyhole surgery, as I mentioned, it's like making small cut, going inside and operating. Whereas conventional surgery or the open surgery is cutting open.
Yeah.
Difference is like in the bigger the cut, the more the pain will be. Reason, when you get a needle prick, you get a pain. But when you get a cut, you get more pain. Because skin is full of nerves. So open surgery, when you cut big, more pain is going to be. So if the pain is more, the recovery will be slow. Whereas in laparoscopic surgery, small cut, go inside, operate, no blood loss, and the vision is good. We are seeing 15 times magnified. So you can even catch hold of small vessels, which you are seeing 15 times magnified.
Yeah.
Now, after the surgery, if the wound is big, chances of wound infections are high. More bigger you have cut. Whereas in laparoscopic surgery, the cut is small. There's hardly less than 0 or less than 1% chance of infection. The quarter rate is 0.1%. Whereas bigger the cut, chance of wound infections are high. More blood loss in open surgery. Earlier days, for example, a gallbladder surgery. Patient used to be admitted in the hospital, get the surgery done and get discharged in a week's time. And during the surgery, 1 or 2 units of blood were required. Sometimes blood transfusion was done. It used to be considered as a major surgery.
Yeah.
Whereas now with the laparoscope, it has come to a daycare surgery. Within 20 minutes, the procedure is done. No blood requirement, no blood loss, hardly 5 ml of blood loss is there. And next day or the same day, the patient is being discharged.
So it's a huge difference. Less pain, less time, and
Early recovery, and whereas time is money. Everyone is working.
exactly.
Where recovery, everything is money. We are working. So early back to lifestyle. People come, get operated, and next day they are back to their normal lifestyle, and within 2-3 days they are back to their work.
Impressive.
Whereas in the open surgery, wound infection, herniation, recurrent surgeries, and delay of the recovery, it played a major role.
Exactly.
So that's why now all the young surgeons, they are laparoscopic surgeons. Many old-time surgeons have also converted themselves or tried to adjust into laparoscopic surgeon. But latest is you have to be a laparoscopic surgeon.
Doctor, what are the surgeries that can be done by laparoscopic?
Almost all open surgeries can be done laparoscopically, starting from gallbladder, appendix, hernia, even cancer can be operated laparoscopically. That's the advantage. And no tumor spillage, like if you're doing even a cancer surgery with a laparoscope, you can go inside, you are seeing everything 15 times, no blood loss, and early recovery. So almost everything which used to be done as open surgery can be done as laparoscopic surgery. I myself do almost everything, starting from hiatus hernia, gallbladder, appendix, varicocele, hernias, recurrent hernias, and even intestinal tumors. And as I was talking about weight loss surgery also.
Doctor, apart of laparoscopic surgery, what are other surgeries that you do?
I do operate thyroid, breast surgery, breast cancer surgery, hemorrhoids, fissure, fistula in ano, varicose vein, varicocele, coming on to like thyroid surgery, any nodule in the thyroid and swelling in the neck, which is quite common,
Yeah.
and operating that. Female do come to me for the breast cases, any lumps, which are so common nowadays. Breast cancer, where we had a breast cancer awareness week, where we do screening of the breast, and I do educate women for self breast examination also.
Yeah.
So detection is becoming very common, and do breast surgery. Even nowadays, the latest is to breast preservation surgery to remove the tumor and preserve the breast, what it is
Okay.
that is there. And quite common problem in this part of the world is hemorrhoid, fistula in ano, fissure in ano. Like while passing stool, you pass blood, and it is such a private area, no one wants to disclose it. So many patients come to me, and earlier days it used to be a painful surgery. Now I do it as painless surgery. There is no pain, patient come, get operated, and next day they are discharged. Or many patients go home the same day.
Impressive. Yeah.
Yes. And many people, they get varicose vein. Varicose vein is a medical terminology, but it is like getting a swelling in the legs. Patient comes, or the people usually who have overweight or those who have long standing working hours, they get a dilated or a big veins in the leg.
Yeah.
And the common complaints are like swelling, pain, burning sensation in the legs. They come to me, and I do a small surgery, and it is all cured with it.
Doctor, what tests and precautions are required prior to the surgery?
The full body checkup is required, because though it can be a small procedure, but I have to see how my patient is, how his or her heart condition is, lungs condition is,
Yeah.
all the blood, how his liver is functioning, how his kidney is functioning. Reason, whatever medicine I give or the anesthetist give during the surgery is either going to come out of the body through the liver or through the kidney. For that, a normal function has to be there. Or what risk does the patient carry? Now with the latest anesthesia, with the way it has developed, the anesthesia has become very safe.
Yeah.
Like patient, we put him to sleep on the table, and as the surgery is over, within 5 minutes the patient is awake.
Yeah.
And no pain, the best part. So the full body checkup is required. All the blood tests are done for the heart, lungs, kidney, liver, how the blood coagulation is there, and the full clearance is required. Though anesthesia is safe, but if the patient is a heart patient, I take a clearance from the cardiologist.
Yeah.
He gives a clearance, or some medicines which have to be stopped. These are the tests. Now, patients who are already on some medication, we advise patient to take all the medication, not to stop any medication except diabetes.
Okay.
Because I need my patient to be 6 to 8 hours of fasting before surgery. There is a reason, because when you are putting a patient to sleep, when the anesthetist is intubating the patient, if you have eaten something, the food can come back and it can go into the lungs, which can be a life-threatening. So best is to keep a patient for 6 to 8 hours of fasting, so the stomach is empty. Now when you are fasting, I don't want the diabetes medicine to be taken, your sugar level will fall. And since you are fasting, I tell all my patients to take all the blood pressure, thyroid, other medicine with a sip of water in the morning. If the surgery is at around 8, 9, 10, whatever time they have to, though they are fasting with a sip of water, the medicine has to be taken. Sugar medicine is avoided.
Yeah.
So they come for 6 to 8, and I advise all the patient to be fasting from 12 midnight. So next day morning, they just get up and come to the hospital, get admitted, and the procedure is done.
Yeah, I get it. After the surgery, doctor, when the patient should follow up with you?
Well, it depends from surgery to surgery, but the standard protocol is after 1 week, I see the patient. So any patient whom I have operated, I give him a medicine, and after a week, he sees me.
Yeah.
But my number is always there with the patient. In case of any problem, they can even see me earlier, depending on how it is. This is a standard. Unlike the physicians, so if you have diabetes, you have to see the doctor every month to check for them. With the surgeons, it's not like that. You have a hernia, you go to the surgeon, he operates you, and you are cured. You don't need to see him after that. After the follow-up is done, it's fine. Though with the bariatric patient who have to be in the regular follow-up.
Yeah.
Those who are under weight loss surgery done, they come to me after 1 week of the surgery, then 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, and yearly after that. Some patient, if they are doing very well and I'm happy with the progress, then it is like 1 month, 6 months, and 1 year. I have even seen some of my bariatric patients on a weekly basis also, depending on how they are recovering and all.
Yeah, on the situation.
The situation.
Doctor, after all of this useful information you shared with us today, do you have any advice you would like to share with our viewers today?
Well, first of all, I would like to say, like, we never avoid taking breakfast or lunch or dinner. We never skip it. Same way, we should make exercise as our lifestyle. If we cannot live without breakfast, we should not be able to live without exercise also. So to my listeners or the viewers, I would like to say, make exercise as a daily habit. If you have skipped it in the morning, do it in the evening. It has to be done. If you are regular in the diet and exercise, you can never be overweight. You have to be fit.
Exactly.
Because when you are young, you are 30, 40, it's like a car. When you're a new car, you can even take 20 passengers, it will run. But when the car goes old, then you realize how you have driven in the young age.
Yeah.
So when you are young, try to live healthy so that when you are old, you will be healthy too. That is one. Second thing I like to tell, any abnormal growth in the body, whether it is swelling in the neck, breast, tummy, anywhere, abnormal growth, it can be cancer, it can be just a lump, but it is abnormal growth. Please see the surgeon or the doctor as early as possible. Don't take a chance.
Of course.
It is abnormal. Abnormal can be even blood while passing stool. It is abnormal. It should not have been there. So these are the small things. Standard, any abnormal thing with a normal lifestyle, please see the doctor.
Of course. Thank you, Dr. Rohit Kumar, for all of this useful information that you shared with us today. Thank you for watching us. Good evening.